Okay, first video. Now, I wanted to tackle a subject that I've wanted to address for a long time, and one that people seem to avoid quite often on the internet. The topic I want to discuss is the movies that you can't stop watching. Now, before I start with this, you need to know that these movies aren't adaptations of comic books because I'll need a different list for the amount that I enjoy and can't stop watching. However, these are just the movies that I watched and immediately wanted to see again after they were finished. Now, without further ado, let us begin. Number 1 is The Prestige. Now, this movie, I didn't need to watch it a second time because when the twist came, I felt satisfied, and it was a movie that I could put away. But I ended up watching it again, and every time I do, I notice a new thing. Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale's performances turned out fantastic and totally believable. I don't want to spoil too much about this film, but I will say a fast summary and a tip. It's a story of two competing magicians that seek to outdo the other. Tip: watch the Top Hats. Blazing Saddles. Now, this is a movie that is extremely ridiculous, especially with the Old West cliches. But to be fair, that's how the Old West movies were back then. Well, this movie exploits them and throws in a good amount of illogical jokes, which are well done. This is the story of a black man becoming the sheriff of a town, which didn't make sense, especially back then. However, the next thing to note is that the movie is based around racist jokes and addressing racism in a funny way. In fact, it's done so well that I could barely stop laughing until Mongo showed up. A tip is to watch this alone first, and then with friends afterwards just to see their reactions. Aside from that, just keep watching a movie that's worth watching. Blazing Saddles, a true old-fashioned comedy. Donnie Darko. Man, this movie is strange, but in that sense it's strangely attracting. This movie is about the apocalypse, but not in the normal way that many of you might expect. No! This is an apocalypse based around impossible events, literally. However, it mainly surrounds the young boy Donnie, who many believe suffer from a mental illness, but in truth can see the harbinger of the apocalypse, Fred. Who is Fred? You know, some guy in a demonic bunny suit. As I said, this is a strange movie, and not much is explained unless you pay close attention to this. Long story short, if you want to watch this film, you should watch it first just to enjoy it, and then you should watch it again to be analytic. You might be surprised how much you missed the first time watching this. That aside, I would say that this movie is very well worth watching, and is fun and dark and all that good stuff. Now let's move on with Boondock Saints. This is a movie about two Irish brothers taking down people who deserve it. This movie is strange at first, and quickly becomes humorous. I don't know why, but I find this movie very interesting. I don't know, maybe it's because of Willem Dafoe's performance, or the brothers' lack of total panic through these scenes, but I always seem to come back to this movie and enjoy it every single time. With every other movie on this list, I have a legitimate reason to come back, and I love these movies, but for this one, I don't. In fact, the movie is humorous and quite violent, but that's not why I like it. Lots of other movies are like that, and I should probably move on to the last one because there's really not much to say about this movie except you should check it out if you enjoy violence and a bit of humor. And now we move on to the last one. Goon. Why is this movie so good? It's based on the true story of Doug Smith, and it's very simple. However, in the end, it always feels good. This movie is well cast, especially with the lead, Sean William Scott. When he says he's sorry, he looks like it, and when the movie begins, it's simple. The main reason I come back to this film is the violence. Big shocker, I know. But the fights look real. Just look at this first fight scene and the injuries they make afterwards.
You want to take that wood back, please?
Fuck you, faggot.
The humor is also very light and adult. It's also heartwarming and awkward. Just the kind of humor that happens when you meet someone and you don't know what to talk about. Like during the coffee scene. All in all, this movie is amazing, and I will continue to watch it as long as I'm able to. It tends to play on Netflix, and if you have a few hours to do nothing, I recommend you check it out. Now, did you all like these films? Did you not? Why? Post in the comments below, tell me your top 5. This is Dreed, signing out. Good night. And the best trailer goes to...
Saints.
Oh, Defoe, this is why we love you so much. And why you suck so much.